we all know we need to drink clean water, eat good food. There's one like non-negotiable that you create for yourself to kind of just like put the right foot forward in mitigating against these toxins.
Really, really looking at your plastic in your home and your life. Don't microwave in plastic and don't drink out of plastic water bottles. Really looking at all the plastic in your life.
When it comes to environmental toxins, we're definitely inundated with them more so than ever. How much emphasis do you put on like the clothes that we're wearing? Because like obviously we want to try and be mindful of the soaps that we're using, the conditioners, shampoos, all of that, our dish chemicals. But like when it comes to actual clothes that we're wearing, if the skin is absorbing whatever it's in contact with, and you look at clothes now, and primarily all of them are produced out of the country, trying to improve, margins. So they're pretty much all recycled plastics, polyesters. Like that's probably going to have a compounding effect, I would assume.
Yeah, you're right. It does. And then think about when you launder those clothes, you throw them in the washer and they break down in the washer. And now you've got microplastics and nanoplastics in the water. And then you throw them in the dryer and they break down a little bit more. And now you have microplastics and nanoplastics in the dust in your house that you're breathing, and that your, pets are walking around and your children are breathing because they're closer to the ground. So yeah, not only is it an absorption problem, it's also a problem with the like when we start to really think about the entire exposure of all the things, it gets really completely overwhelming. And so what I would counsel your listeners and, tell any patient is you got to start where you are, right? So you got to start with clean food, and then you work on your clean water and you filter your water after what you've learned today about the PFASs, right? And then you got to filter your air because of air pollution and whatnot. And then you need to clean your house, like simple things. Don't wear your shoes in the house. Super hard when you have dogs, right? What do you do? Like, but don't wear your shoes in your house. You'll track in pesticides and God knows what else. And then we need to vacuum, we need to clean, and we need to make as healthy choices as we can. I I do not have a perfect wardrobe. I'll tell you right
Yeah.
now, it's really hard to try and be a fashionable woman and have a perfect organic wardrobe. I'm gonna look like I wear a sack, right? And there are definitely companies out there that are making some higher quality organic cotton, clothing, and there's some really cool um, sportswear companies that are not plastic out there. But yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, and you just have to do the best that you can.
Yeah, it is very daunting when you start peeling back the layers. One of my good friends, Anthony J, he wrote Estro Generation, and he's like talking about all these endocrine disruptors in just the day to day consumption stuff that we use, and it's like people pay no mind to this. They go to Walmart, they go to Target, they get the shampoos, the dish soaps, they heat their food up in plastic, Tupperware, which I'm guilty of doing all these things. But like you look at hormone levels, testosterone levels, the decline in testosterone over the past 50 years.
It's
It's
crazy.
it's bonkers, and it's like okay, we got to start taking action somewhere, or else we're just going to implode as a species. And you're starting to see this unfold. I mean, like the infertility rate is through the roof. Birth decline is rampant. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much going to be an implosion point between the people that are actually able to function as a species versus those that aren't. And I feel like a lot of that can be mitigated by simply the day to day choices that we make and the environment that we live in.
Yeah, and it starts with education. If you don't know, you don't know, right?
Hmm.
And I see this in a lot of my young male patients. They're in their 20s, maybe even early 30s, and their testosterone levels are like 2 or 300, and they've never been normal, right? So if you have a young man whose testosterone level is 200, he doesn't have drive. He doesn't have motivation for, like life, really. Um, and and then what happens? They play video games and they hang out and they're not gonna procreate because 'cause they're attached to their computer because they don't have the motivation to go out and, like, exercise and find a woman because, who cares? My testosterone is so low." Like, they don't they don't recognize the difference. Whereas when I talk to, a 55-year-old man or a 60-year-old man, they had normal testosterone levels in their 20, or at least they were better than they are now, right? And they can tell the difference. They can tell the difference.
Mhm.
I just it is an existential crisis on a certain level. Yeah, and I remember when I first started learning about all of these chemicals and all of these conditions, and this was 15 years ago, right? It was depressing as hell. But
Yeah.
I really don't want your listeners to feel depressed. I want them to feel empowered because once you have this knowledge, you can't forget it. And then you can only start moving forward and making healthy choices for yourself and your families.
That's the key. I mean, like for me, the catalyst to all this was, learning what I learned about nutrition. But then when you start recognizing how much better you feel when you're eating the right food, like you start looking towards the next thing. So, like, okay, what's the quality of the water that I'm drinking? How can I improve my exercise and movement and longevity from a skeletal musculature standpoint? And then you start looking at everything else, and it just becomes another rabbit hole after the next. But then it becomes exciting because it's tangible. You can grasp it. You're excited to get better and make progress. But like you got to take one step, and then once you know better, you do better. It's not easy, but it is relatively simple in that regard.
Yes. Yeah. You just have to make like one incremental change over time. If you did some new change every week for a year, well, that's 52 changes. That's huge. Even if you take a couple weeks off vacation and you don't make a change, it's still a huge amount of progress in making different choices for yourself.
Totally. What about sleep? Like, I feel like when we're looking at all these societal ailments that we're experiencing these days, I feel like sleep and just hyper awareness as a result of the ability to view a screen and be stimulated through technology that didn't exist not that long ago. I feel like that is very foreign to us, naturally speaking. So that's probably going to have a very negative impact on our parasympathetic state, all in all.
Yes, and, guilty as charged too for me. So, um, uh, not that I'm scrolling, social media, I'm completing charts and answering patients' emails and things like that at night. But yeah, it's a huge issue, and I definitely know, from personal experience if I spend time on the computer at night, even if I'm wearing my blue blocker glasses and I've got the lights turned down and I've got my blue blocker light bulbs in the room and, all of the things and my red light on at my feet, I still don't sleep as well as if I just read and go to bed.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely impacting us. And a lot of these chemicals too, and the molds are they're neurotoxins and they cause a lot of brain inflammation. And so, sleep is an issue, and I think it's driving, like, the mental health disorders, the neurodevelopmental disorders, autism, ADHD. I mean, how all of these environmental chemicals are crossing the blood-brain barrier, which is not very robust, in people who have leaky gut, who have environmental toxin exposures, and my primary symptom, when I was mold exposed was insomnia. And this was way back, when I was talking about when I lived in Oregon. I would just wander my house at night because I couldn't sleep because my brain was so inflamed from the mycotoxins, and I had no idea what was happening. Um, so, yeah, and sleep is critical. It's so restorative, and it definitely, um, because of our culture and our choices, it can definitely cause it is placed on the back seat, and that's not
Mhm.
ideal.
Yeah, I'm totally. I mean, that's my Achilles heel. I don't get enough sleep, and I know. that I would perform better on all levels if I got more sleep. I feel like the quality of my sleep's pretty dialed in, but the quantity is leaving much to be desired. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's so many things that every single one of us listening to this could like do today and implement to get better. And it's just a matter of making it a priority and taking action.
Yes. Only 24 hours in a day. Gosh darn it.
Yeah. Well, let's end with this. What is one like non-negotiable that you create for yourself to kind of just like put the right foot forward in mitigating against these toxins, mitigating against these environmental, you know, adverse issues? What is something tangible that's like lesser known, so to speak? Like we all know we need to drink clean water, eat good food. Like what's something that you do that's very practical that you've found to be creating a meaningful difference for you?
Mhm. Um, Honestly, I think, well, what I would say is, how about I'll give you 2 ideas. Um, I think, uh, plastic, like, really, really looking at your plastic, exposure in your home and your life would be the one thing, and I know, we know don't heat in microwave, no, don't microwave in plastic and don't drink out of a plastic water bottle, stuff like that, but really looking at all the plastic in your life and by that, I also mean like your TV, your stereo system, your computer, all of these things are breaking down and contributing to the toxins in the dust. So maybe the thing that I would say is vacuum more. And
Hmm.
I hate vacuuming, so vacuum more. No shoes in the house, and then I would really encourage people to start to think about how how to engage with their own spirit, with their own authentic self as much as possible. Um, and it doesn't have to be religious. I mean, if you believe in God, great for you. It's your relationship with God, but whatever you call it, we all have the capacity to have amazing intuition about who we are and what's good for us. And the more that we can tap into that and start to live from that place of heart, you know when you hang out with somebody who makes you feel good, right? You know everybody knows what flow is when you're doing something that you love and time just passes by. Um, and really like dialing in those things in your life and living from that place, you start to feel more connected to yourself, more connected to your purpose, more connected to life in your community. And I think that that is one of the ultimate ways of building resilience for yourself in your physical world reality because you're living in alignment with yourself.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Savage Clip. If you want to see the full blown deep dive, check out the full episode here, and I'll see you there.